before you quit social work, watch this. Hi guys, my name is Eva Ford, social worker, mindset mentor, and coach. And on this channel, I talk to social workers and helping professionals about how to live your richest life. Now, if you've ever been in a situation where you're wondering if you got into the wrong profession because maybe it's stressful, maybe the workload is heavy, or maybe you're just not making the money that you want to, today we're going to talk about a few things that you need to do before you decide to quit. Now, there was a picture, an image going around years ago from Humans of New York, and there was a woman who said that she had to leave social work because she just wasn't able to live the lifestyle that she wanted. And so many people responded on that video and empathized with her. Some people said that they had left as well. Some people said that they knew it was hard, but they loved the work, and so they were willing to make the sacrifices. And some people who weren't social workers just, empathized and said, social workers should be paid more. Yeah. If you are in a social work post, then you do know that it can get hard, it can get difficult. And many times when you look at your pay, especially if you're comparing it to the pay of your friends or other family members or other professions, other industries, you may feel like it's not worth it. And in social work, we say things like, oh, we do it for the outcome, not for the income. I don't know that I love that statement, which it's true. But I think a lot of times we make these statements that are supposed to highlight the virtue of social work. But what it does a lot of times is it diminishes our value. Or we'll say things like it's not about the money. And we know it's not about the money. We don't have to keep saying this, it's not about the money. But the truth is, money matters. There's a statement that I love that's it takes cash to care. And it's true. If you have clients that are homeless, housing takes money. If you have clients that have mental health challenges, getting the proper support for them, that may take money as well. Even if you work in communities or in macro social work, there's money that's involved. And so you wouldn't expect a doctor not to get paid his fair wage, and you wouldn't say to a doctor, oh, money's not important. So why do we say it in social work? But today we're really talking about what happens if you want to quit. And what I found is there's usually only about 2 reasons that people want to quit. Number one, it's either because of the money or the lack of money, or number 2, it's because of the workload. Now, I want us to consider one thing in particular. And if you have not watched my video on mindset, please go watch it now and you'll understand what I'm about to say. But what I'm about to say is, on some level, social workers and others, if you want to make more money, if you want to have more freedom, if you want to live a truly rich and fulfilling life, then we're going to have to take responsibility for the results that we have in our lives. And we're going to have to stop pointing the finger at the jobs that don't pay us the money that we deserve. We're going to have to stop pointing at the unions that maybe don't advocate or aren't able to get the amount of money that we would like to have or set the types of boundaries that we would like. We're going to have to stop looking at these external factors, and each one of us is going to have to start taking ownership for the results that we get for ourselves. What I mean by that, there is a wonderful man named Richard Cloward who wrote a book along with his partner Francis Scott Piven called Poor People's Movements. Now, I had the privilege of being taught by Mr. Cloward, and he emphasized that in Poor People's Movements, in that book and their philosophy was that if you look in history, any major societal change, especially when it's come to human rights or fair wages or anything like that, it's come from the bottom up largely, not from the top down. And he emphasized that when poor people were able to get together, when they organized, when they were clear on their message and they spoke with one voice, and they set clear messaging and boundaries on what they would accept and what they wouldn't accept, and they boycotted and they sat in and they marched and they picketed. When poor people in different movements were able to do this, that's when change happened. It did not happen fast necessarily, but it happened. And I think a lot of times we as social workers give up our power to the powers that be because we're so busy in the trenches, because we're doing the work. But what we're not necessarily doing is we're not standing up for ourselves individually. We're not saying to our bosses or to jobs before we get them, this is the amount of money that I will accept. These are the skills that I bring to the table, and this is what I want. We're not learning from wealthy people. We're not learning from people who know how to position themselves as experts. And we're not using those skills as well. We're relying on our social work skills that, frankly, are really weak when it comes to asking for more money. That's not to say that we can't learn what we need to learn to be able to pivot and position ourselves so that we can share with people what our value is, and that we can raise the impression in the minds of wider society and individuals, raise the impression of the value of social work. It's not to say that we can't learn how to do that, but it means that each one of us has to do that, and we've got to do that consistently, and we've got to do that. We've got to be able to come together and do that. The good thing about this channel is that if you're a subscriber, you've found your tribe. Everyone on this channel believes that not only is social work valuable, but that we can make a difference individually, and that it starts with us. In taking ownership and in taking responsibility for the results that we see in our bank account, and not just our bank account, but for our energy levels and the time that we have outside of work. Once we take that responsibility, then there's a couple things that we need to do that go along with that. Number one is we've got to set boundaries. And those boundaries may look different to different people. Common in some of those boundaries might be the amount of hours that you work. How late you take phone calls, or how early you start answering your phone, how much time off you take from work, and what you do with that time off. So it's not just being away from work, but it's setting boundaries even sometimes around your family and around your friends, making sure that you're clear on those things that you've got to do for yourself to renew yourself, re-energize yourself, so that you can be well for the people that you love the most and that you've committed to serve and to help and to support. But it starts with taking ownership and setting those boundaries. Now, we talk about setting boundaries with our clients all the time, but do we set boundaries with ourselves? Do we make appointments? Do we schedule things in? And if you're not subscribed to the channel already, make sure you do that, because I've got a video up on how to set goals, goal setting and planning that will encompass this idea of self-care and what it really, really looks like on a practical level. Okay, so before you decide that you're quitting your job, I want you to do a couple things. I want you to sit down and I want you to actually write out a list. I want you to get a sheet of paper, split it down the middle, and on one side, I want you to write down all of the reasons why you should leave your post or leave social work altogether. Write down every single thing, everything that makes sense to you in this moment. Just get it down on paper. And then on the other side of the paper, I want you to write down all of the things, all of the reasons why you should stay, or you want to stay, or why it would be beneficial to stay in this profession. And just keep that in mind. Now, I have to share with you, I have threatened to leave and kind of taken a hiatus, a break from social work a few times in my career. And one of the last times I did, I ended up working for a tech company, and I struggled a lot with my identity and with finding meaning in this new role. And one of the privileges that I think we take for granted sometimes is that social work allows us to work from our passion each day. If social work is a passion for you, social work allows us to connect to the human element of us that's in each one of us. But the great thing about social work and social workers is that oftentimes we find this truth and this path a lot sooner than a lot of other people in life who do spend years, going after success, whatever that means to them, but missing out on this whole fulfilling part of themselves that social work gives us every day. So that may be something that you want to consider that you might be missing out on if you decide to leave the profession. Now, another thing that I would suggest you do after you write that list is you want to give yourself some time. Take a day, take as much time as you possibly can to just be by yourself and just decompress. When I was considering leaving the profession, I ended up taking about a year and a half off. And you may not need a year and a half off, but I was able to use my social work skills in other ways without being seeped in social work. And once I was able to have that time away, I did a lot of meditating, I did a lot of just soul searching and thinking. And I was able to, like I said, I was able to look at the pros and the cons and come out on the other side, still proud to be a social worker, but with better boundaries in place so that I didn't get burnt out like I did before. So I want to encourage you to do the same thing. Take the time to consider if leaving the profession outright is really something you want to do for the long term, or if it's just something that you're thinking about right now. It's possible that a vacation might solve your problem. Maybe. Another thing that I want to encourage you to do before you make the leap to quit social work is to talk to your friends and family. Talk to them about how you're feeling. Of course, you want to find the safe ones. Talk to them about how you're feeling and talk to them about options. Also, you want to do an inventory, if you haven't done an inventory, of your natural strengths and abilities, because it's likely that you'll be able to make a lateral transition into something that is aligned to social work, that may not have the social work title, but that will still allow you to use your social work skills and knowledge and values and earn more money or have the time and the freedom that you want and that you need to live this rich social work fulfilling life. Now, once you've talked to your family and friends, you might even talk to a therapist or a coach, you want to sit back and you want to weigh your options. You want to think about what is it that you really want out of life. And Stephen Covey, in his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, says, begin with the end in mind. That's to say that you want to think about, what do you actually want your life to look like? And if you can't imagine your entire life, think about what would be an ideal day for you. Now, an ideal day may consist of you doing nothing, but likely you're going to also want to be doing something that serves other people. So think about what that ideal day looks like. Because the truth is, you got into this profession for a reason, and I would venture to guess that service is a big component for you. So think about, if you were to serve, what would that look like in the most healthy way possible for you? It may not look like serving every day, and it may not even look like serving every week. You may see yourself as doing a few big conferences every year, and that's it. I want you to play with these ideas. I want you to think about it and really kind of dig down. Spend some time and weigh your options. There's this strategy called yes and that's whenever you hear yourself saying no to something, or that can't work, or that's not feasible or possible, get that out of your mind. Say yes and consider all of the possibilities that might exist. Try that exercise and see what happens. Now, finally, once you've weighed your options, once you've talked to your family and friends, once you've looked at the pros and cons, you may actually just need to take a hiatus. But through all of it, I encourage you to self-care through this entire process. Now, the fact is, some people watching this may still decide to leave social work, and at the end of it may decide that that was the best decision for them. And if that's you, then I want to support you in that as well. Remember, social work, we're not forcing anybody to stay in. We want people to be as well for themselves as they can be. And if you're not well for yourself, how are you going to be well for anybody else? It's impossible. So self-care through this process, as you're thinking about it, as you're contemplating it, and share with us in the comments what's going on for you. If you're watching this video, chances are you are not the only one who's thinking about this question, and there's strength in numbers and there's strength in getting support. So let us know in the comments what you're dealing with and how we can help you. I promise to respond to every comment. Guys, thanks so much for being here. I hope you've gotten something out of this video. Be sure to share it, like, and subscribe so that YouTube can send it out to more people. And turn on that notification bell so that you'll be sure to see the next video I post up. You don't want to miss it. Bye.